Another wild scene out of Minnesota. New video appears to show anti-ICE protesters throwing fireworks at federal agents in Minneapolis last night. Demonstrations in the Twin Cities are intensifying, with officials reporting dozens of arrests since Friday. The cities and state filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration yesterday, calling the recent surge of immigration agents a federal invasion. Shortly after, Chicago and Illinois announced they filed a similar suit. Paul Morrow, let's get your legal take on the lawsuits first.
Okay, it seems to be grounded, first of all, in some federal overreach, but also the First Amendment. And they're going to I'm sure they're going to throw in some equal protection stuff, because every time it comes up, any of the so-called leaders in these places invokes racism, okay? Which is amazing when you consider that all the protesters tend to be not only white, but majority white women, all right? But that said, that's the basis of the lawsuit. The rejoinder is pretty obvious, which is you do your best business on Main Street. ICE is going to these places because that's where the people they got to pick up are. And all I would add to bring it down to street level is the following. As ICE goes into these locations, one of the things they've learned, and I've heard them articulate that, and let's recognize, by the way, that they're hiring, I think, 5,000 to 10,000 new ICE agents under the big, beautiful bill. So they're going to have the bodies to do this. In the past, if you sent in 100 people to do the operation, now they're going to send 150, 200. Why? Because they're going to have arrest teams. So as they try to enforce and bring the people out, the worst of the worst, as we've seen some of the people that have been arrested in Minneapolis who are wanted for sex crimes, child predation, et cetera, they're going to have dedicated arrest teams behind the front lines who are going to look at this, say, okay, that's the guy, he's shooting fireworks now at federal officers. That's an incendiary. That's 5 years in jail with a sentencing enhancement federally, because obviously Minneapolis PD is all on furlough. So you go in, you take these guys. You need the bodies to do this because it's chaos. And if you don't have dedicated teams, you lose track of who did what. The cases fall apart. NYPD learned this a long time ago. You need people who are dedicated. I grab this guy. I stay with this guy. I put him through the system. The arrest sticks. Now, you went out there to cosplay as a protester when you were on study hall. Now you're looking at 5 years in federal jail. You've got in a prison. You got to pay for the lawyers. You have that on your record. That's a bigger hit, and that's where this stops.
Harris, we saw last year during the LA protests that those individuals, the cosplayers, throwing Molotov cocktails at law enforcement were slapped with 10-year federal charges for the destructive device that they're throwing. So Paul's absolutely right. What we are seeing unfold before our eyes is not okay, and it is frightening for the safety of the officers.
First of all, cosplay is so perfect, and I'm glad you said it again. Because that's what's going on. I mean, look, it would seem that there is no mission here, just like what we saw on the university campuses. Who's speaking up for the people in Iran? Who's even talking about the Palestinians anymore? Yeah. I mean, all of that went away. So it is cosplay. And they're out there right now becoming, people who are obstructing justice among the crowd. They'll pay for that, however, legally, mightily, if they even get more than a slap on the hand in the state of Minnesota. Because I'm getting the feeling that Governor Walz, for as long as he sits in that seat, and some reports are it won't be much longer, and then you've got Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, they want to be the fly in the ointment to kind of slow the government down. They can't stop the feds, but the feds go in, they do a two-tier job of, isolating and extracting the worst of the worst, and then you've got that second flow, which you just described. I hadn't heard that. The arrest teams that will come in and begin to build the cases. So you can slow down the process, but you can't stop it. So, yeah, they're just playing a role right now. And they're being tooled to death. I mean, they're just paid. They're incentivized online, more clicks, more love from the algorithms. I mean, think about it, people. This goes on your professional and your personal resume for the rest of your life.
So, Martha, Paul, as we talked about the lawsuits that they have now filed against the federal government, he mentioned the First Amendment. So Minneapolis and Minnesota are arguing that these are targeted operations against them. They say that the federal government, that President Trump, is targeting them for their rhetoric, that because they've stood up for Minnesotans and for some reason, I guess, calling ICE Gestapo is protected, but they feel that these operations are unlawful. So they're asking for an injunction saying to stop it right now, stop this full ICE operation. And then number two, rule it completely unconstitutional because, as they say, We don't need it any more than any other city. And yet, look, the feds are here in our backyard. Now, I'm not quite sure what the families of the victims of those horrific criminals that Paul mentioned, the sodomizers and the rapists and the homicidal maniacs that were extracted out of Minneapolis. I'm not sure what they would say to that argument by Walls and Fry.
Well, you would have to compare whether there's equal treatment in other cities where you're not hearing those sorts of things and how those operations are going. When they have cooperation from local law enforcement, it's a very different picture. So you would have to prove that they're being treated differently than those places where the model is working a bit better. And it does remind me back to the George Floyd days when police activity was so suppressed in Minneapolis, where the police officers abandoned the 3rd precinct in the middle of the night and drove away. The people who were hurt the most, and we went out there and talked to people on the ground there and in neighborhoods where they were saying, we need police. We need the police. Yeah. And they are not the characterization of the people that you said are protesting. These are people who felt that their streets were unsafe. They had drive-by shootings. They had more gang activity in some of these neighborhoods because the police were hanging back. And that is what makes it a very unsafe situation. So, and I'm also struck by, you know, you see protesters out on the streets in New York. The signs change like every 3 weeks, right?
Oh, yeah.
So now it's this poor woman who lost her life, Renee Good. And you're so right. Where are the Palestinian signs? I guess they're in the storage closet.
Well, they turned them over and wrote on the other side.
Well, yeah, even if they did that much independently, I would be impressed. Here's your new sign, right?
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
They're printing the America out of Iran ones right now.
You're right. And I look at it as, or a federal agent that maintained his life, thank God, in the face of what could have been imminent death.
Yeah, and to these lawsuits, there's no First Amendment right for states to opt out of federal immigration enforcement. Nope. That's not how it works. And, unfortunately, this seems to be a case that the Supreme Court is going to have to take up eventually, because right now you have 2 competing claims of sovereignty. You have the sanctuary states that are claiming they are somehow exempt from the rules of federal immigration enforcement. And then you have the federal government, which is trying to apply the rules that Congress has passed uniformly across all red and blue states. This is unsustainable. You can't have blue states continue to do this. And more to the point, you can't have the left believe that they can nullify the results of an election, a presidential election in which the mandate of the people was clear. They voted for stricter immigration enforcement. And right now, the left thinks that they can nullify that through continued violence against ICE and against Border Patrol and the other agencies that are specifically designed for preserving American sovereignty and identity. That's a huge problem, and it's going to be more than just a legal question. It's really a cultural one as well.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.